Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Hey.
Good, all good.
Give it one more minute and then we'll kick it off. Just people dropping in from lunch.
Peter, I have a question actually. I have missed one of the last sessions, I think the last one. Do we have, maybe I missed that. Do we have somewhere the recording of it?
Yeah. Let me get that URL for you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Because it's still very interesting, but I didn't make it.
I have all of the slides as well, so I'll send that to you as well.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's I was thinking he was playing with a playlist. Oh yeah. This is the URL for the playlist. Okay, perfect. So let's kick it off. And obviously, this session will be added to that same playlist, so you can watch this later as well. So welcome to the fifth. No, this is the fourth or the fifth. The session of the deep dive series. Today we are gonna go much deeper into the messaging channels of customer contact center. And that goes to all of the chat options, the social options. We're going to look at how to set it up, how it interacts with different phone numbers, different vendors, and also we'll take a look at Copilot's bot-wise, right? So to see how we can add a chat bot to one of our messaging channels. Perfect. And again, everyone can unmute themselves if you want to interact, if you want to join in, if you want to add something or have a question, obviously interrupts. That's what we're here for. It is supposed to be an interactive session. So let's take a look at the channel setup and see what kind of channels we have and what is available to us within contact center. So if we take a look at the left side, we can see that there's a few here. We got the normal chat, which is what we call the web chat. We got some social channels, Facebook, WhatsApp. You got WeChat, Line. Those are not there, but they are available in the system. You got SMS. Obviously, we got Teams as an inside kind of thing. If you want to handle all of your chats within the company, you can use Teams for that as well, or a bot through Teams. Apple, and also custom channels through chat. So there's an API where you can hook up literally every service, literally every app that you want to that direct line channel. So imagine, for example, your bank that has a custom chat within their iOS app on the iPhone that is usually done through this last one, right? Perfect. So let's take a look at chat setup. So chat is obviously one of the channels that we as customers love to interact with most as well. It's a quick way of getting things. It's a quick way to get the attention, to get to the right agent. It's a great way to self-service, get things done without endlessly queuing for an actual live agent, right? And of course, again, this is very much an individual choice, right? We can see that it's also a generational thing. As I said, I am very much a guy that wants to do stuff through a chatbot or through chat. That's my preferred channel of choice. While my grandma would love to go into the office or go into City Hall to do her business there, or at least speak to an actual human, because that is more of her preferred way of communicating. Right. So chat is not something that is a channel that we put in instead of other channels, but it's more of an addition to our already existing palette of channels of ways to interact with our customers. And chat we can do through different approaches. If we take a look at the contact center, we'll go back and forth into the system in a bit. We have a few different ways. One of it, and this is the web chat that we're talking about, we're going to take a look at every one of those types of channels that were just listed there. We're starting out with the web chat. So the web chat is the thing that is included if you pick the customer service digital, the customer service enterprise plus digital messaging, or the contact center digital, right? Or the contact center premium version, right? So there's one option where you can just pick contact center with voice without chat. So mind that if you pick that one, then you won't have the ability to add those channels. If you have them, we can set chat up in a few different ways. One is the live chat out of the box widget. It's by far the easiest, quickest way to deploy, right? So literally, and let me pull up that screen. So this is an empty contact center. If you start out with customer service, you have a button here that says open up your or set up your contact center that just sets up a bunch of default things for you. So I just did that before this meeting because it takes a few minutes to actually run through. But if you do that, in a second, it will also set up that chat for you, right? So the live chat widget that we're talking about is this thing on this side. And obviously now I can test it from the admin center, but usually if you set that up, you will copy this chat widget to your own website. And then on your customer facing website, you'll have something like this. And mind, this is something that you can totally style. You can add icons to it. You can add color schemes to it. You can add a little branding to it. Right, so all of that is easily done. But that is it. So just if you set up a channel, right? If we set up channel and we go to chat, mind that you only have this option if you have the appropriate license. Create a channel. And you will have that live chat widget right there. So if you don't go through the guided channel setup, you will have it right there. Right? That is by far the quickest and easiest way. Branding and behavior is all done through that admin center, right? So behavior as well, right? If I edit this, there's a few things that I can set up: language, the title, the subtitle, etc., some color schemes, logos. Do I want to have proactive chat or not? Do I want to have history reconnecting to the previous chat or not? Do I have opening hours? All of that is easily done through here. I can deviate from the custom automated messages, or from the default automated messages, and put some of my own in there. I can also add surveys, customer satisfaction surveys at the end. Authentication, we'll get into that a little bit later. But this is really cool, right? You can also say, hey, I want people to be able to elevate this chat to voice if you want. You also add co-sharing, that is through a third party, or co-browsing, which is also through a third party. Right? That is just an ISV setup. So as you can see, this is really quick. This is by far the lowest development cost, but also the lowest control. There's a bunch of different other things that we can do. One is the chat widget plus custom tags. And what we mean by that is that there is more customization. You can add a little bit of JavaScript, and there's plenty of GitHub code available for that. It's also linked in the slides that I will share after, where you can make it bigger, smaller, make it look different than it does out of the box. Then we got the SDK. The SDK is something that we can use within our own applications. If you do pro code, if you have a website and you want to embed it somewhere instead of having it through a widget, then this is the way to go. Obviously, that is something that takes a lot more effort to develop. And then the last one, this is by far the highest one. This is the direct line. We'll see direct line through chat, and we have direct routing through voice. It literally means bring your own stuff to the platform if you already have something in your organization running. This is that server-to-server solution. This is not the preferred setup, right? This takes a lot of development effort. So the recommendation from Microsoft, and also for me as an actual person that does projects on this, is to use that live chat widget whenever you can, right? It is by far the best approach because we get updates so fast nowadays. We get new features rolling out like literally every month, and that live chat widget will accommodate those, right? So if you build something of your own, mind that new updates that you have in the platform, you might also have to build into your custom widget if you build that, right? So take that one out of the box. As I said, you can theme it, you can brand it as you wish. That is by far the best option. So this is what we just did. So if we go to channels, right, and we click manage, then we will have to add it to a work stream, right? So we start out with channels, can manage all of the channels that we support. If you get that license, mind that you have to activate chat first before you get it available. So tick this box. After propagating, you will see chat here. You can attach it to a work stream, and a work stream, as I said, just a funnel where everything comes in. And then from here, I can divert all of those chats to a specific queue, if you wish, right? I can do some work classification, and we'll dive into that a little bit later on the routing in 2 weeks. We can do skill-based routing on that as well. And this is also the place where I can add a bot to my chat, right? So we'll pick the bots at the end of this session. If you want to add a bot, so before it gets to an actual agent, this is the place to add it. There's also something in advanced settings that you can add a smart assist bot. This is in practice, this really works. This really doesn't work well. So if you want to try this, there are better ways to do this. Don't put that in your projects right now, like this. This is a very important one. So on the advanced settings, there is something that we call context variables. And context variables are basically, well, as I said, it is stuff that we can write to that context from the outside. So for example, if I come in through a website and I have a multi-brand proposition, I have a call center that delivers service for multiple brands, I might want to know which brand is it coming in through, right? That is something that I could put into a context variable, and based on all of those variables, I can route it to the specific queue. I can also use that for skill-based routing. So for example, if I have that in my chatbot, I can have a few questions. Do you want to have an English agent or a Dutch-speaking agent? What is your problem? What kind of product do you have? And based on all of those questions in there, I can put that into the context variables and do routing on these, right? Lastly, we have a bunch of quick replies. And quick replies are things that we want agents to be able to say really quickly, like, hey, my name is Peter, and let me review your case for just 1 second. I'll be right with you, right? That could be a quick reply. Instead of having the agent type that out every time, they can have a little shortcut to that. So let's see how that looks, right? So let me go to the next slide. So that is what we said. We had the context variables. And then we'll take a look at the authentications. Let's just see how this looks before we go any further. And let's test it out. So on this side, I have the customer service workspace. So here I'm logged in as an actual agent. I got multiple channels available to me. I'm an admin that is logged into voice and into chat, and you can see that I am on green, so I can literally receive chats as it is right now. That out, if I go to that home thing, if I open up that test widget, a few seconds, and there we go. So let's chat, let's try it out. Hi there. And obviously there's no bot attached to it just yet, so it should come into that customer service workspace right now. So what it does now, it looks for, it checks if there's a bot attached to it. It is not, then it should divert it to the unified routing, right? And then, oh, there we go. Oh, and there we go. Then it comes into the first available agent, and that is me because I'm the only agent here, right? I can also see that as a supervisor coming in on my ongoing conversation dashboard, right? On my ongoing conversation dashboard, I can monitor everything. If I accept it, I can also transfer it, etc. This widget you can expand with all sorts of different kinds of information, like the context variables. Right? I can say this is the queue that it came into. This is the brand that it came into. This is the employee, or this is the customer that we already identified. All of that information I can adjust in this pop-up through the setting. So let me accept it. Because this is a brand new installation, it doesn't recognize me just yet because I haven't set up any customer contacts in here. But what it does is now it will connect me to him, and you can see that I said hi there on this end. Hi, now can I help? Oh, almost correct. This is the interface for the agent, right? And you can see that there's a bunch of things here happening here. We got that quick reply. Obviously, there's nothing in here. You can start that with /q, and then the agent will have a small pick list. This is really helpful. Languages. You can also start a consultation. So if you want to have some expert on the back burner, where you can just talk to him without actually having the customer see that. I can also do a transfer. That is literally just a cold transfer, right? Send it to my other coworker. I can add a few notes. Well, I have to first create a record for that. And I also have Copilot to my availability to summarize all of that conversation. Right? So back and forth. I have a very big issue with your stuff. Right? Know that there is a sentiment analysis being done here. Now it's still on neutral. There is behavior that you can set up, right? And if I go a little bit further, it will go to negative, slightly negative, and then very negative, etc. There's sentiment analysis that you can set up also on all of the chats, so not just on web chat, but also on your socials, where you can put alerting in here that says, well, if it turns to this sentiment level, I want to, for example, notify my supervisor and he can get a notification to, well, barge in there, sort of. You can also use all sorts of rich messaging. So I have a bunch of different things that I can send back and forth. I can send them a perfectly good photo of myself. Would be a bit weird, but that goes both ways, and that is really cool because now we can literally have a much richer way of communicating by sending documents, by sending images, by sending payment requests, by doing co-browsing. All of that stuff we can do through chat. So that is pretty nifty. As we can see
Peter,
here,
can I ask a question about that? If you send
yeah, sure.
attachments, for instance, how is that shown up on afterwards? Is it easy to find and things like that? Because that is probably going to be very relevant.
Yeah, that is a good question. So let me create a contact. So while I'm on the phone, I can say, well, this is Peter, the client. I don't have an account. I can just do save and close just to save it somewhere. And let me that does that work? Contact Microsoft support. Well, that is great. Let me end this and then I will show you conversation. So if you go to, and normally it would be on a client, obviously. No, I got another one incoming. If I go to the activities, all of the activities, see if there's a chat session or conversation. We got it here. So this is normally in the timeline of the contact that you attach it to. Right? And just as with voice, you can literally see the transcript if you enable that. Oh, there we go. This was a previous conversation. You can see that here. And that also goes for those rich text messages. Let me see which must have been this one then, I guess. Oh, once it is closed. I think it's not closed at some point. But you get the gist. So as my session is closed, I'm still on hold. I'm still somewhere tied up in that active session. It will be in here. Mind that the files that you send will be stored in Dataverse, right? There is an option to actually switch your storage to an Azure Blob Storage. If you have agents licensed with Contact Center or Customer Service Enterprise, then you get a default allocation of 35 gigabytes per user, right? So 35 gigabytes. That might seem like a lot, but if you have a lot of calls, if you have a lot of rich messaging going back and forth, at some point, and you want to record all of your audio of your voice, and you want to record all of your rich messaging, and you want to, for example, have a retention of that stuff for years and years, right? Many of our clients have retention policies or demands where they say we need to save it for at least 7 years, right? It quickly adds up. And then the 35 gigabytes is not that much. Yeah, Kunal?
Yeah, so Peter, I have a quick question on that sentiment analysis side of the things. So that
Yeah.
sentiment analysis, is it being controlled by Microsoft, or is there any way where we can also tweak those sentiments?
No, it is not tweakable yet.
Okay.
That being said, I know that there are initiatives where Microsoft is trying to add more controls around that.
Okay. And the next one is about, I think, the similar one which we are explaining. So what we have observed in one of the implementation is after we send this upload as in chat, that image or document, it takes a while to come up as a notes for an existing customer. So is there anything on the roadmap that is there like for a quick one to be available? Because this is what we have observed, and it takes sometimes a minute or so. Behind the scenes, there are some Microsoft driven Power Automates or something, which transfer it to nodes.
If you take notes on the side of a call, you mean?
Yeah. So what we have observed is like we have once we upload a photo, it gets into the existing customer notes somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it takes some time. So anything that you are aware of from the Microsoft side, like any improvement coming up for a quick one, because that would be really helpful. So
Yeah, I get that. I have to check on that. I don't know if that is on the roadmap, but I will
okay.
absolutely check with you.
Yeah.
There's a community guy called Yuka, which is really great. He actually built a custom release planner where you can filter on products. I'll get that link in the chat at the end, and that
Yes.
gets all of the details. It's really great. I love it.
Thanks. Thanks. That would be helpful. Thanks, Peter.
One more about the attachments, Peter. If
Yeah.
you send a Word document, let's say 5 pages, will Copilot, when you're creating the highlights and you're creating the analysis of the customer,
Yeah.
will it read through the contents of the document as well? Or just like there was a Word file, or
Yeah, no, it doesn't read for Copilot for the Copilot to learn from it. It doesn't do the attachments just yet.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I actually created a calculator, so I will add that to the chat as well to help you make that decision on where and when do I need to change the storage, right? So you can literally just fill in the amount of licenses that you have, how many chats do I have, how many bots do I want to add, and then at some point, what is the retention? It will show you, right, if I want to say I now am at 112 months of retention, you'll see that you go over your default allowance. Oh no, I'm not still not over. Let me say I want to have 300,000 voice calls. Oh, I actually have a lot. Then at some point you'll see that it will switch over that cost to Azure licensing, to Azure Blob Storage, and then obviously you'll get charged for that, right? So there is a cutoff point, and the calculator makes it a little bit easier to find out where and when. Perfect. So next up, authentication. In the authentication, in the chat widget, it is obviously very important to have some sort of authentication, right? Because you want to make a difference between people who are not authenticated or people that are actually authenticated before you give out information or discuss something about their case, right? If I want to go to my bank, I would really rather that they not give out my info to any random visitor, that they do proper authentication and verification of me as a person. The chat channel has a few different ways of doing authentication. And the most reliable one, the easiest one, is by using a OAuth provider. So OAuth providers are things that like Azure AD, your own authentication provider. If, for example, I'm a customer at the bank, I can use my banking login and then come back to the chat window where it says now you're authenticated, right? So let me just show you an example how that looks like if I go to, for example, my bank in the Netherlands. Right, the Rabobank is also on the customer contact center. If I go to customer service, there should be a chat balloon right here. Here you go. Ask through chat. There you go. So you can already see, right? So they have a little chat bot. This is the same thing. This is also the chat widget of Dynamics, but themed for Rabobank. You can see the authentication thing popping up immediately, So they say, well, I can help you better if you are already a customer, then log in. If I need to log in, you'll see that I go to the actual authentication mechanism of the bank itself. And then after I do this, I return, and then obviously I'm authenticated. That will show at the agent side as well. So it will show you this client has been authenticated, and then you can obviously discuss more private things, right? There's also a few ways of doing it without OAuth, mainly if you have non-standard ways of communicating or authenticating within your company. Then you can set some of the context variables to say, hey, you're authenticated as well, right? So there is a few alternative ways to do that. Yeah, continued, as I said, that also it functions on JWT tokens. If you're into the authentication, that is a very normal for you. It is also, and that's what I said, all of the JWT tokens you can put in that context claim and send it together with the JavaScript calls, that live widget script that you had. To actually verify on the dynamic side, right? There's deep links in here. Go and do that. If you want some examples for it, I have examples for literally every one of those scenarios. Please just get in touch. I'll happily supply them. The live chat widget, as we already said, you can automate and change most of that. There's a bunch of stuff like the general styling, etc., that we can change. Right? This is what we say. This is the custom widget. So the one that we were talking about, that is this one, right? So before we talked about this one, and now we're talking about this one, where you can actually change that live widget that you get, the out-of-the-box widget, but then have that expanded with some actual, well, different contexts, different options, etc. Mainly to make it look better, right? So as you saw with the Rabobank, it doesn't look much like it did before. Obviously, the basics are still there, right? But it is a little bit more on brand for them than to have the out-of-the-box thing. Next up, the chat SDK, and as I said, this is a very, well, a much more deeper integration. If you have a app, for example, an iOS app, this is the way to go. You can talk, well, if it's on .NET, this is the way to go. You can connect it live through that omni-channel chat SDK. You can send all the messages, get all the messages, get your positions in the queue. All of that stuff is available through chat SDK. So closing on or continuing on the asynchronous messaging channels, because we don't only have web chat, we go where our customers are, right? And some of our customers are more of, and that is getting way more popular nowadays, asynchronous chat. And with asynchronous chat, we usually say, well, it is like a slow chat, right? It is not as important that you get a direct message back. If I take a look at, for example, my health insurance, they have web chat. They have, but they also have WhatsApp, right? And they say, just send us a WhatsApp, and then we'll get back to you at our earliest convenience. And usually it is within 8 hours, which is absolutely fine for most things, right? The same goes with SMS. It is by nature a much slower way of communicating. Doesn't mean it's better or worse, right? It is a different way of communicating. Or teams, right? We'll leave their co-workers way. So common behavior. It is a little bit of the same thing as we saw, but unlike the chat channels, right? These are automatically asynchronous, meaning that the interface is also a little bit different. So with this one, just end this conversation and see if I can end this here as well. Otherwise, the pop-up will keep coming up. And there we go, close. So if we go to channels, I can set up messaging as well. And messaging has a bunch of different choices. So if I add a channel, a messaging channel, give it a name, I have to pick what kind of messaging service I want. Right? We'll go through a few of them through the slides. But for example, I can pick SMS. You'll see that I have to add an account. So most of these things go through a different vendor. For example, Facebook, for example, WhatsApp, SMS goes through Microsoft or through Twilio or some other party, Line, etc. So this is something that you have to set up, right? And we'll look at that in a little bit more detail. Once you do that, you will have that back and forth coming in. I can show you in a different show you here in a different tab where we just use that in a demo. Load it up. Come on. While it loads up, there we go. I was going to say I'll do a little voice over on that. So what you'll see is that it is a little bit different. So while the chats come in with an alert to the agents, right, is the asynchronous messaging coming in through your inbox normally. And obviously you can adjust that behavior. Expressing, it is something that, well, that works a little bit different. So let me go here. Do I have one still? This one. There's one here for people who don't know what this is. This is Norwegian. In this case, you get to the customers. Working. Oh, there we go. SMS. So let me open up this. And you'll see that it works a little bit in the same way, right? We got the going back and forth, and obviously this conversation has been closed. So you'll have the same interface as chat, but you have you don't have things like I want to transfer or I want to consult on that, right? So there's a little bit of a different control set to SMS. Obviously, you can transfer the case that it's attached to someone else so they can continue the conversation, but it is not as pressing, it is not as direct as the immediate. What we can do with it is the same thing as with chat, add a chat bot, right? And especially in the WhatsApp channels or in the Facebook channels, we'll see that a lot in practice. We'll add a bot that takes the first few questions. What are you talking about? What do you want? Who are you? Let me get you verified before I actually hand you off to an agent, because that means that my agent doesn't have to ask all of those questions. So Oh, and obviously, as you can see here, we can have multiple of the same kind, right? I can have a channel that just does support. I can have a channel on Facebook that does sales, etc., etc. Right? So it's not that you can only have one of each. You can add multiple of those. So let's first talk about SMS. So SMS is is still used a lot. I was actually quite surprised when I saw numbers on active clients that are actually using it. It's a bit of an outdated system in my opinion, but it's actually still used a lot if you're in the field or more in the technical space. SMS is easily set up. There's two ways that we now support. One is through Microsoft itself, Azure Communication Services, and one is through Twilio. There are a few third-party vendors out there that also work, but Microsoft just supports these two, right? Obviously, they support and they say, well, we could recommend that you use our services instead of, for example, Twilio, right? That is absolute bollocks. So if we take a look at uh, Microsoft, so let me show you. And this is again, this is a demo environment. There's nothing secret in here. What you need to do to set this up is obviously you have to create a channel first. You have to create a work stream, and then it asks you to set up an account, right? That's what we just showed you. And that SMS account is something that you have to set up through ACS or through Twilio. If you want to set that up, if you want to get started with SMS, you need to have a phone number, right? You have to have a phone number where people can send you stuff. If you go to ACS, to Azure Communication Services, and you say, well, now I want a phone number that I can be texted on, you have to pick a country first. And if I choose the Netherlands, you can immediately see that, well, that is great. You have to create a special order, and a special order will only let you add voice instead of also text. So this entirely depends on what country am I in? Can I receive phone calls and SMS? So if I pick United States, you can see that I can have them. I can say I want to have a local one, and I want to say I want to also do SMS. And then you can see that, right, there's a choice and there's a budget or a cost according to it. And that you also have to make sure that the phone number that you pick also support that SMS. And then you can see that I can support incoming and outgoing or just outgoing. So mind that while the out of stock, there you go. While Microsoft says, well, we can recommend our own services, in practice, that is not yet where it should be. Twilio is a third-party vendor. You can just create an account. You can just acquire numbers through it. So that is what I just did right here. They have way more options on numbering than ACS has. Mind that also for Twilio, the rules and regulations are very strict. The same as with Azure, where they say you have to put in a special order. There's also some regulations that you'll head into with SMS on Twilio, where, for example, if I want to get a Norwegian SMS number, I have to provide documentation that I am actually a registered business somewhere with a Norwegian Chamber of Commerce, right? So there's a bunch of proof that you have to do before you can actually get it. Once you get that active number, once you get it, so this is one of the Dutch numbers that I could register. You can just click it. It's a really easy process. So I can literally go to my contact center admin side. Is this? So I can say I want to add a channel. You say, I want to do SMS. I want to do SMS. I want to add an SMS account. Yes, sure. Let me say this is Twilio. SMS. Yes, I'm sure. I read everything. I want to add a provider. As I said, Twilio. I have to add an account SID and an authentication token. That is something that we get from Twilio on my account dashboard. So that's where it starts. Account SID. And my authentication token. It will read my numbers or will ask me like, hey, what kind of numbers do you want to add? Obviously, they should be in your account. I can go into my active numbers. I can see, for example, that this one, I haven't used this one, so let me use the US one. I can add this number to my setup. Add number. One. And what kind of number is it? Is a regional calling. So as I said, you can have regional ones or you can have toll-free ones. This is a regional one. Make sure I got it correctly. 301 is what we call it. This is indeed the correct number. US SMS. So once you do that, it will ask you, it will give you the callback URL. So to complete this setup, you need to copy this over to Twilio, click the number, and just put it in here in the webhook. Right? This is calling. I don't need it for calling. Obviously, I need it for messaging, so I can just add it here. Save.
Can I ask a question about Twilio, Peter, in regards to Schrems and EU and data storage and things like that?
Okay.
I think a lot of things can go through chat. Will this be going to the US then, or does it have like a European?
Yeah, no, definitely. So now I had a developer account, and you can see that I have multiple regions. I have one region which is the US, and within the US I added a number, a Dutch number. So this will run through the US systems of Twilio, even though it is a Dutch number. So mind that if you want to comply with European regulations, there is also the Ireland zone, which is in the EU, that you acquire those numbers in here and not in the United States.
Yeah, and then we're good.
And then you're good. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just for demo purposes, this was just easier for me to click it here, but
of course.
Obviously I would not do that. In the So now we got this set up. It works quite well. I can literally just copy this over. Or I did. I put the callback in there. So I now have my account. So let me get back to channels, messaging. There we go. Now I can add a channel. I should have done that the other way around. So, and now I can pick the SMS channel. What kind of work distribution do you want? I want it to be pushed, right? That is what we usually want. I want agents to be getting the SMS right away, or as I said, you can also let it end up in your inbox, and then agents can just pick it up, right? So it's a little bit of going back and forth. I can just use this queue, or I can create a new queue. That doesn't really matter. What kind of number do I want to attach to this? Well, this one, what kind of language, what kind of behaviors, all of the same things that we saw with chat are the same things that you can do here. And then I want to create it. And there we go. in here.
Does this support RCS messaging or just normal standard SMS text?
This is normal standard SMS messaging. Yeah.
Okay.
And although it says use rich text and that sort of stuff, it is very limited. So locations, for example, are not supported. So for that, you need to use WhatsApp or Apple Business or other channels like that. Those are all fine. This one doesn't do anything. So let me test this out. So perfect. We got this one. Let me go and see the customer workspace and see if something comes in. There we go. So I sent an SMS from my own phone just now to that number. As you can see, I am not pushing it because I'm not in the new, but I can, I should be able to send it to an actual agent. I don't think I am a supervisor. Oh, there we go. I did put it on. I am in the right queue. So now it comes in. I can accept it. If it's on the same number as we already that we already knew from a customer or a web chat, you can obviously automatically resolve that customer, right? And that is also what is great about the system. It is an absolute multi-channel thing. If you come from phone and you switch to SMS, or you go from chat and you go to phone, you can literally just pick up where you left off, because you will see all of those conversations right here when you select that specific customer. And this goes back and forth, right? So I can just say hi. As you can see, it just depending on what you want to send, or what kind of number you have in Twilio, there's more that you can do with this. And I don't know if you can actually see it. Let me turn off my my effects, and you can see my nice clothing back. I don't know if you can actually see it. What it does now, you can see it. What it does now, instead of sending me this picture, Twilio will convert this. It will store that image on their servers and will convert it to a link to that file. Right? So instead of actually having a photo, you will get a link to that file. So this is absolutely not an approach that I would suggest taking. I would not be comfortable with Twilio saving my attachments. I would rather say, for this channel, I do not support rich text, right? And then you can disable that for the agent, and you can also disable that for the clients, right? Questions around SMS?
Yeah, I tried to write it as when it started in the Q&A. I think Twilio is a hard pill to swallow sometimes for customers, especially here in Norway. How much work is it to set up custom channels or custom providers? I've done it a few times in marketing, and obviously it varies how much difficult it is, but is it comparable here?
And
if you
what
want
do
to
you
use
mean
a
by
Norwegian
custom
provider or
No. So no. There's no. So if you do not want to go through Twilio, then the only other supported way right now is through ACS. So through the Microsoft Azure one, and that is, I get that Twilio is well, it's not a preferred way for most customers. Going through ACS is, but mind that if you want to set it up, it could take a few days to set up, because you just have to wait. You have to order that special number. You have to wait, hope for availability of your number, and then if you have it, then it's all fine. Then you have it through ACS, and you can just attach it just the way we did now, without even doing that callback. Because if you choose Microsoft, all of that stuff goes automatically. The answer you were looking for?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's good.
okay,
It's
perfect.
just a bit different than what I do in marketing, because then you can use any platform there if you want to,
Yeah.
but it's just custom channel more than
There,
SMS.
there are a few other providers out there that are actually working in practice, right? So there is a few other ones there. You can use that, yeah, for now, Microsoft just supports these two. So if you run into any issues with that, obviously most of our clients like to have a backup in Microsoft support. Then these two are the only. So as we said, and I'll go over these slides a little bit more quick because we just looked at them. SMS setup, ACS is the way to go, right? ACS for voice and for SMS channels is what Microsoft's choice is. You have to have those numbers. Twilio is sometimes a better option because there's no numbers or availability in ACS, but that is the Microsoft way. So that is, well, that is the way to go if you want to be fully compliant. As I said, Twilio, we just showed you how to do that, right? Facebook. Facebook is one of those asynchronous messaging providers as well. What you want to make sure of what you want to do before you get started on this, you must have admin access to the Facebook page. So this is not like Facebook messengers, or well, it is actually Facebook messaging, but this is a business account. So WhatsApp and Facebook and Line, those are all business messaging accounts, right? It's not your private account. It is something that you need to set up as a business. And for Facebook, doing that is going through the developer partner portal where you log in and you have to put all of that stuff in. You have to supply all of your business information, opening hours, your terms and conditions, and then you'll get an approval process. This can take a while. This is not something that you do in 10 minutes, right? Before getting approved, before getting all of the prerequisites in order, it might take you a day or two. So it's not weeks, but it's a day or two before you have everything set up. Mind that if a company already has a business account, which could be like I have a Facebook page listed or attached to my business, then that is the account you want access to. That is usually a whole hassle on its own to get access to that specific account, right? So mind that you take enough time if you go through this route and get the right stakeholders on board to actually set this up. What you want to do is you want to create some test Facebook pages, create that developer app, and within that developer app on Facebook, so developers.facebook.com, you will find a page access token, an app ID, and an app secret. And if you create that thing, just like we did with SMS, you will get exactly those things that you need to copy over from your developer app to Dynamics. Same thing here, you get a webhook back that you will have to add into Facebook, and then you got the channel. On every one of those channels, you can also add that bar. Not just with web chat, you can also add that to Facebook. That is a pretty common way of doing things. There's an app review and live mode. So before you can actually give this to your customers, you need to submit it and it needs to be approved. And I already put it in here, budget a whole full week for it to be approved. So again, while your touch time on this is like an hour, right? The time you actually need to put in your calendar, in your planning, is 2 weeks at least, right? So mind that run through time. And then obviously you want to enable live messaging if it is within business hours. And for example, if it is without business hours, you'll let the bot take over, right? Same goes for Apple Messaging. Apple Messaging is a way, way, way richer format than any of the other ones. While it is not used much by the projects or the clients that I work for, it is actually a really nice experience, right? So also here you have to put in all of your business information, all of your operating hours, etc., before you get that account, before you can create messages. And this is basically the same thing. So going back and forth, you need a business ID. If you submit it, you have to have a complete app review. So Apple is much more strict. What does it look like? What are you selling? Does it comply with our ethics and our values as a company? Or right, if they're not going to allow you to do porn sites, for example, and use Apple Messaging for that. So there's a bunch of regulations in there where they say no to. This takes way longer. So budget at least 3 weeks for approval, right? And that is after the initial approval of your business account. But if you have it set up, it is pretty nice. And if you weren't there the last time, we actually had a demo, or two weeks back, we actually had a demo on the Apple messaging where we showed payment requests, AR. So if you buy a product, you can literally use AR on your phone. You can do location requests. So all of that stuff is really well integrated with Apple. But again, if you just use Apple, all of your Android users can't use it, right? So it's a bit of a tricky thing for most clients to actually go with. And then we got Teams. Teams is really easy. Obviously, it's Microsoft connecting to Microsoft, so this is really easy. What you want to do is you want to go to channels, messaging accounts, create a new one, Teams, and then you need your bot ID. So your bot ID is something that you register in the Teams development portal. You'll get that bot ID, and bot ID is just basically saying, I want to publish this to a specific channel or to a specific Teams or to a specific organization. If you are within Capgemini, we have Ask Adam. That is something like that, right? So Ask Adam is an internal bot where you can ask them questions, and then they don't have a handover to an actual live agent, but you could do that, right? So it starts out with the bot, and then you can escalate to a live agent. Then let's take a look at the last one before we dive into that bot creation stuff. WeChat. So WeChat is WeChat in line. In Europe, we don't use this much. In the Asian regions, this is by far the biggest channel, right? So WeChat is the same as WhatsApp, somewhat the same as WhatsApp. Mind that this is also something that rubs the wrong way with regulations in Europe, right? So mind if you set this up, it runs through a few servers that are not in the European Union. Mind that we usually do not have to, that we usually do not want to do that. WhatsApp was the same. WhatsApp is now native to the platform. So WhatsApp needed to run through Twilio before. WhatsApp is now natively brought to you through ACS, through the Azure Communication Service, right? So WhatsApp is really easy for us to actually do that. Perfect. That's the end of the slides. And now I want to dive into the actual bot stuff with you. Any questions around the slides? Nothing? Perfect. Or is there something in the chat? Oh no, just an after drop. So let's create a chatbot, or let's integrate that on our. So Microsoft uses Copilot Studio, and obviously you can use any bot provider if you want to use a bot from for example, audio codec, audio codes, something like that. That is absolutely fine. Log into this one. Instead, it's a real fresh environment, so needs to go and spin through all the first use wizards, but then you get the fresh experience that you would get as well. So what we can do is Microsoft uses Copilot Studio not just for chatbots, also for live chat, and also for voice, and also for IVRs. So next week we'll dive into the voice messaging, the voice channels, where we will literally see somewhat of the same demo, but instead of having chat, we'll see that we have interactive voice response menus. Right, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, or just tell us in a free text sentence what you are calling for, right? And that is really, really powerful. Now, Microsoft bought Nuance for voice a while back, and all of those enterprise capabilities from Nuance are now making its way to Copilot Studio. In chat, we already have Power Virtual Agents, and that Power Virtual Agents are now morphed into all of that experience together with Nuance to actually this. So let's create one. We can create a new one, or I can actually say, well, I want to, for example, start out with a bot. So let's do a default IT help desk. Start out with a basic one. So basically you have a name, you have a description, you have some instructions. The instructions, no, I don't want to have servers now. I choose another one really quick. Let's press cancel and leave. Is this one connected to Dynamics? No, Alt first now. Let me just create a new one. And that's easier. So let's create a blank one. Create a new agent. And you'll start off with a Copilot bot to actually create your own Copilot, right? So I can literally describe what do I want to build. In a few sentences, how will Copilot assist your users? You should assist my users in answering questions around our product services. Perfect. It thinks a little bit. It already has English. Mind that you can have multilingual chatbots, also multilingual voice bots, but it's default in English. Do you have any instructions? Sure. Be upbeat and concise, concise, and be factual. Right. I can also say I want you to answer everything like a pirate if that is your thing, right? But it seems more appropriate for our bot. Any important information? Do you want to have any public websites that it wants to use in your answering? This is now new, right? We have that generative AI stuff. We can take, for example, hey, I want a public website of my company to be crawled and used as a knowledge source for this bot. Mind that if you do that, it will automatically by default say you can use the public internet to get your answer, right? You have to make that a smaller thing. You have to scope that down. There was a big case with DHL that created a bot that did just this, and within an hour or so, it spit out that DHL was the worst company to actually send your package with. And that is just because the internet is full of complaints of DHL, right? That was not the best appropriate use of a chatbot for DHL on their own website, as you can imagine. So I would suggest that you would use this, but edit it on your own and not let the Copilot builder make those settings for you, right? So I'm good, just create. And it says it will take a while, we'll just take even a minute or so. If you choose voice, it takes a little bit longer, but you can actually wait for it to complete. Now that we have it, now that we have that bot, we created that bot, we also have to link it to our chat view, right? So now I started this whole process from Copilot Studio. So I'm doing it the other way around. I have a bot, I'm creating that bot. And once that bot is created, I am connecting it to, I'm connecting the handovers to Dynamics. You can also do this the other way around. That might actually be easier if you get started with this. Is on this side, the bots, I can actually go in here and say, well, I want to, oh, there is actually a demo bot. So that might be easier to show. If you do it from here, it will already set up that connection between Dynamics and your chatbot, and you don't have to do that. All right, so let me go quickly into that, go away. This demo bot just has a few questions about store hours and that sort of stuff. Go. Come on. Hold on there. Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Leave. Agents. There we go. Have the omni-channel PVA demo bot. So you can see here, these are the topics. So a bot always works with topics, and the topics is literally just the line of conversation that you want to go in, right? And there's a bunch of demo ones in here. It always starts out with the greeting. So the greeting is the thing that triggers it. It say, hey, good afternoon, something like that. These are all variations, and then it will respond with, hi, how can I help you? So if I say hi, it should go into this, how can I help you, right? If I want to escalate this at some point, there are topics that say I want to, sorry, that is a system topic. I want to escalate it, right? I want to escalate this to a human, and the agent is, and then it's transfer. So within Copilot Studio, if you've never done this, it is basically just a low-code builder where you can actually say, well, I want to send the user a message like this, right? Like the how can I help you? Or I want to ask the user a question, right? Like what is your name? What is your email address? So I can send that to the agent, right? And if I want to escalate it, so I can have an escalation ticket. So for example, if someone says talk to agent or call back or call support, you can see there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually say that. It doesn't have to match exactly. Then it goes in here. And then there's an action that literally says, I want to escalate this. I want to, sorry, the topic management. I want to transfer this conversation. You can only transfer the conversation if you connected it to Dynamics, right? And to do that on the bot, there is channels and there's Dynamics customer service. As you can see, there's a bunch of different ones that you can also hand it over to, but for Dynamics, for contact center, this is the one that we used. And as I said, if you connect it from the Dynamics end, this is already connected. If you do it like I just did before, is this one? Oh, it's still not created. So I thought it would be quicker. Then you have to put that in yourself. So you'll get the connection string, etc. in here, and then you have to add it from here to Dynamics. So if we did this, now we have it, we have that bot. Let's try this customer service bot that we already have out of the box and attach it to one of those channels that we have. And again, we can add this to all of the channels, not just chat, but also messaging and also voice, right? So Copilot fully supports voice now, but let's try it out with our chat workstream. So if we go here and we add that bot to our chat workstream, is attached to it. It says it can take up to 15 minutes to reflect. This is something that Microsoft is now actively working on to making this almost real time. This is also now the case for taking people in and out of a queue. So if you take someone out of a queue, it can take up to 15 minutes before it actually propagates, right? That is obviously not something that we want. We want that to be real time. Microsoft is planning on releasing that somewhere before January. So really, really soon, right? That is also on the release calendar, so you can look up the exact date. So let's try it out. Let's see if this works. This is the only thing that we need to do. So if we go back to home, and again, if it doesn't work, that is then because it needs a little bit more time. It says up to 15 minutes. Usually it is a minute or so, but mind that it can take up a little bit more time. So let's see if we test it out from here. We have that chat. And say hi. An agent will be with you right now. It does, as I said, now it comes in to the chat requests. That is not what we want. We want it to come into the bot, right? So this takes a little while, but usually the bot would take over. So let me see if I can show you that one here. Copilots. Demo bots. That's it right here. You can say track between topics, so you can literally see where we are within those topics. I can say, hey, how can I? You can see that it goes through here. Actually, it's here right now. Okay, store hours. And then you'll see, oh, store hours. You come in here, it asks you a question. Well, it didn't ask me a question because it already has my answer to the question that I want to ask. And then it says, well, I want you, where did we go? Did that answer your question? Oh yeah, that's where we are now. It's this one. Sure, yes, it answered my question. Right. So now you can see that I have a CSAT question. I got some post survey thing that I want to do. Can I help you with anything else? Right. This is the path that I have without escalation. If I say yes, you can help me with something else. Just do this. It doesn't understand what the hell I'm talking about. No, human. Right. That is how I usually do that. Escalate. Then it would transfer you to that agent, right? Mind that it says in your test the transfer to agent action was triggered. It will not actually escalate you to an agent, right? So if you have to test it with a custom widget. So if you want to test all of your escalation and your handovers, you go to channels and you go to custom website. This is the thing that you want to copy over and paste, right? You cannot use demo website either. On the demo website, it does not it does not work with transfer, right? If you want to test this out, you can use the custom website, or as we said before, that is the better choice, right? If you go to work streams, you go to that live chat. This is a different widget than you have in Copilot Studio. This one is a little bit more advanced. This is the one that you want. Just put it in a notepad, call it .html, and then run it. And then you can use that to actually work with that customer service bot. Let me see if I have a here. So In the demo, we can show you how it looks like, right? This is a demo that we did for one of the clients. Welcome. This is just a picture, right? I can say hi. And then you'll see that the bot, instead of it coming into an agent, it will actually, slow because we're the first user, it will actually get that bot up and running. It will ask you the questions like, hey, what are you calling about? What are you talking about? What do I want to know? It's longer than it should. Oh, there we go. See? And this is what we can do. So I want to help you. You want to make a choice. Is there anything else that I can help you with? Right? All of that stuff I can actually do. And if I say I want to escalate, then obviously I get that handover to the agent. Right? That works the same way here. Well, I can't read Norwegian, so I can't read if it's actually doing transfer. Okay, perfect. And with that, we come to an end of this. Is there any questions around having the bot added to the messaging queues? Nothing. In a few weeks, so well, next week actually, during Ignite, during Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft is going to launch autonomous agents. Autonomous agents are the same, well, it's the same as the Copilot chatbot that you just saw, but it runs in the background on your conversation. Meaning that, let me stop the sharing so you can see me. Meaning that if you are talking to a customer, it will listen to your conversation. It will literally trigger, it will literally just find out the customer intent, see what we're talking about, and it will fill in most of the stuff that you have on your case file, on your case form, like who is the customer, what is his email address, what is he talking about, what was the product he was talking about, what is the category this falls in. All of that stuff is being extracted by that bot that just listens to the conversation, right? Pretty awesome. It's going to be in preview as of next week, and it's going to be, well, GA somewhere in the first quarter, right? So keep an eye out on that, and we'll do a demo hopefully in a week or so when, well, so next week we got Ignite, so there's no session then. The week after, we'll probably do a demo on that during the voice channel. So please join us for that. If you have any questions in the meantime, please just drop me a message. Find me on Teams, find me on LinkedIn. I will drop the slides in the chat, and then the recording will be in the link that we shared before on the YouTube playlist as well. Any questions to close off with? Perfect. Then I thank you for being here with us, and I hope to see you for the next session next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Peter.